Welcome to the Pacer Cadence webinar for October 2024. This is going to be our last Pacer Cadence webinar, or 2023. Wow. This is going to be the last Pacer Cadence for this year. And then we'll have our next one. We'll share the date at the end of this presentation for the next one. So we'll go ahead and get started today. If there's anyone new on the call, which I don't think there is, but my name is Connor Francis. I'm part of the customer success team, and I'm joined here by Richard Mashenik, our founder and CEO. And we're going to get started today talking about expanding Pacer usage. There's a lot of different ways that you can sort of get the most out of the app. And today, in the expansion of the usage of Pacer, we're specifically going to talk about how to incorporate more people from your teams to run their own projects or have a hand in running their own projects within Pacer. And then through moderators, which is a user role within the system, which is the next part of the presentation today, we're going to explain more about what that moderator role is, what it allows people to do, and the restrictions that it has. Moderator is a role similar to how there's users and there's admins. There's like this middle ground, which is what a moderator is, and not many people use it, but I want to educate everyone on today's call on what it is, so that way you might feel a little bit more comfortable exploring what that is, perhaps with your next project. A lot of us here on the phone are admins, and we kind of get bombarded with, okay, yeah, you're the admin, so you're in charge of it forever now for Pacer, and if anybody else wants to join, you're the point person. But it doesn't have to be that way with moderators, where you can sort of give a little bit of power, but not all the power, and then just assist that person instead of their entire team. And then we also have some feature updates to share with you. The dev team has been hard at work doing some fixes and some upgrades, so we want to share some stuff we've been working on since our last call. All right.
So before, chat is open to everybody. If you've got a question, just type it in the chat or raise your hand and we'll keep an eye on it.
Oh yeah, great point. So we're going to get started with just the basis of reminding us how projects work in Pacer. With projects, you're able to manage pushing baselines to many different teams all at once or locations all at once. And projects make it really easy to move that zero date or to pull that baseline back or to place something on hold. It's an advantage you have with using projects versus a more older way that we used to use Pacer is just pushing baseline directly to the location. Having the project feature allows you to see a lot of different graphs on the company overview. You're tracking how things are going. You're getting that detailed reporting in the reporting tab. And it's just helps you stay organized in knowing what's happening, when it's happening, and how things are going overall. But then there's this other feature called communities. Some people may be familiar with this. When you start to use Pacer in a brand new subscription, communities are designed to have you set up with team level tasks and corporate level tasks. So each task, when you create it, you choose which community it's associated with. Only the people that have these communities in their user profile can access these specific tasks. So if you're opening up a hotel and you have 1,000 tasks, 700 may be part of the community property level, and 300 may be associated with corporate level. If in my profile, I have team level tasks only, I can only see 700 tasks that are marked with the team level task community. But if Rich has corporate level and team level in his user profile, he can see all 1,000 tasks. So it's a way to sort of use accessibility feature. But today we want to start the conversation to show you how not only can you use that to manage who sees what, but you can also use communities to say, you know, you've started using Pacer, you're using Pacer for a while, you're part of the operations team, maybe you're the task force operations and you're opening up locations and starting new teams. But you can also use communities where we can introduce other departments into Pacer, where they can have their own space and you can have your own space. Additionally, the community access that someone has in their profile also deters what type of information they'll see on their screen through graphs. And I'll show you what an example looks like for someone who has full access and someone who has limited access. So this screen we have up now, this is a company overview page of an individual who has full access to the entire subscription. They have many different projects going on, different statuses of what's happening. If I hovered my mouse, if I was live in the app, I can see, you know, how many locations it's been implemented to because I have access to these locations, have access to all of the tasks, etc. Earlier, I made the example that you can have another department have that community access. So if the finance team was interested in doing a budget rollout project and maybe it had some sensitive information that we don't need the entire company to see what finance is working on, or anybody who has access to your Pacer subscription to see what finance has going on, we can take some specific users, create a finance community and give them access to that. And when tasks are created related to anything that finance is working on, we'll give it the finance community. And this is what the page, same subscription would look like for someone who's only working on finance. So you can see the project here is a budget rollout, makes sense. It's only finance things. And then for the full service opening, these might be only the finance related tasks for opening a full service hotel. We're going to distribute this presentation afterwards, and slide 10 that I have here on the screen is a great slide to take a look at afterwards. This sort of helps portray everything that I've been saying in a visual form if you're a visual learner. So across the top of this graph, or chart, we have all of our different communities. There's property level tasks, corporate level tasks, vendor tasks, and PM tasks. On the left-hand side, we have specific people in the subscription, and the check mark shows what they are able to see. So the first row, opening manager Olivia has access in her user profile to see all 4 of the communities listed across the top of the page. But the next row, GM George, is only able to see property level tasks and vendor tasks. Just to be clear, vendor tasks is another way to use the community. If you have a third party that you're working with assisting you on a project and you want them to be part of Pacer because you value the tool so much and you understand how important it is for visual, to keep updated with comments, to run your reports, you can add those vendor tasks in, and you can also add those individuals into your Pacer account by giving them a user profile and then only allowing them to see vendor related tasks. It's another great way to use it. So you can see at the bottom, our vendor Victor only has access to see vendor tasks. They have no idea on what your company is doing at the property, at the corporate level, or at the project manager level. So we're going to go into the app, and I'm going to just switch my sharing screen here, and we're going to go in, and I'm going to show you how that looks. So I've got my company overview screen here in my testing location. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to the admin page. Here, I want to show you where you can create a community. So we'll scroll down under task configuration, we have our community option here. And here's where I can add new communities. I have a few here, vendor, sales level. If our IT team is interested in doing a rollout, I can do IT department only as a new community. I can save that. And now the community is available for us to use. But we have to make sure that if we want anyone to see any of these tasks, we have to go to our user list, find the person that's in charge of our IT department. This can be a corporate leader we can start with. We can go to the community section in their profile and just go ahead and add in IT department only. Now, any new task we create and we add the community IT department only, this person, Calvin, will be able to see those tasks. So I'll go ahead to a location. And I'm going to create a task at the location level. I'll choose a due date. I'll name this IT task. The department.
Very creative.
Yeah, very creative. We'll do information technology. And here I'll add the, I think I have to do it at the baseline. Or maybe refresh.
Yeah, you probably had to refresh or log out, log in.
Yeah, let me log out,
Find out.
log back in. Yeah, let's see what happens. Yep, there it is.
There it is.
I just had to do a refresh. So I'll add the IT task, my creative task. I'll choose the information technology person to do this. The department will be IT. And I'll choose the community IT department. We'll make this do 10 weeks out before our 0 date. We'll save it. And I want to make sure that I actually push that task since it's a new task that's part of this baseline. It's a good refresher time for us. If you add a new task to your baseline, you'll need to push this task. I'm going to push it to the budget rollout. Perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead, make sure that I myself have the IT community as part of my user profile, just like we did with Calvin. And when I navigate back to the task list for a location, I can actually even filter by communities in our show filters button here at the top right. So I can strictly see things related to this community only. And here's our task. So only I can see this and only Calvin can see it because we have the community IT on our user profile. It's a great way to filter through tasks. I can also go to company overview, just as I've shown in the presentation, and I can change our community here as well to IT, and it won't show us a lot of information because I only have one task associated with it right now, and it's in our budget program. So here's our one task, and we've actually pushed it to a few locations. So it's also great for filtering out, if you're part of that department, you can filter out exactly what you need to be looking for that day or for that specific project. It's just one note that you can only have one community related to that task. So the thing to remember is that if you create that task and you add that community, no one else is going to be able to see it unless they have that. So if it's an IT thing that you want other people to be able to see, maybe they need to contribute to getting this task done, you may want to just keep it at property level so that others can assist in this process. This would be for something either sensitive information wise, or like I mentioned before, if IT is going to do their own projects, but in the same subscription, they can do their own things.
Thanks, Connor. Got one question, and so the question was, as an admin, would I be able to see all tasks or only the tasks that are in the communities that I've added to my own user profile?
Yeah, so the thing about adding communities is that if you add a community today, as an admin, you probably should be able to see everything that's going on in the app. So if you make a new community for another department or any sort of community, you'll want to make sure that you go back to your profile as an admin and also add that into your profile as well. That way you can see everything that's going on in the app. So right now, this is my profile for this test environment. And you can see I don't have vendor selected for myself. So I actually can't see anything that the vendor has. That's not helpful for me as an admin running the system for my company. So I'm actually going to add vendors. So now I can see every single task. Great question. Yeah. All right.
That, by the way, is why you couldn't add it at the location level.
Yeah, I didn't have it
you
yet.
had not
That's
yet
right.
given it to yourself. Yeah.
Yep. That was a test.
A task or a test?
Oh man. So talking more about having other departments come in and have their own space within your subscription without having to like sign another contract, but giving them a safe environment where they can have their own area with their own specific tasks. You can also do something similar to that by location. So right now, if you're using projects in the app, you know that it's so great to use projects because you create one baseline and you push it to however many locations as you need. You're choosing their zero dates and you're managing the process. There could be a time when you have a project that you only need to do for one location. So I have an example here that a use case would be if someone goes and visits a property, maybe this is 6 months after opening, and you've realized that at this property, 6 months post opening, there are still a lot of loose ends to button up. You could have a property improvement plan. You might have training exercise. You need to retrain the staff. Or another great example is maybe the whole team is just looking for a push on NPS scores. So they want to put together a plan, and what better way to do that than through Pacer? But you don't necessarily need every other location to do this. So there's a way that you don't need to go into projects, create a baseline, push to one location. You can actually just navigate to the dashboard page and find the location where you want to implement this one-time project. And you can click on Add Project right in the project section. A drawer will open that's very familiar to you if you're used to starting projects in your subscription, where you'll create a name, an abbreviation and all, and you will actually fill out the information and attach a baseline to this project. I have a note here too that it's great for property team leaders. So if a GM is looking to get something done and you're part of the process of trying to help, you can set this up for a general manager so that they can help manage their own task list and manage their own project at their location. Yep. So this is just another view of that drawer. So you can see here in the projects, I have a few different projects here at the San Antonio riverfront, and there's this button highlighted here in this box that says View Project and Resources. By clicking on the project resources, this restaurant rebranding is an example project happening at just San Antonio riverfront. By clicking on that, because it's a single location project, I'm able to change the zero date right here in this drawer. So there's a little bit more accessibility that you can have for the users to, kind of manage it on their own, if you will. They can move their own zero date, change the coach, which you can do, and also change the implementation manager. There's a lot of different use cases that you can implement this with. So we've actually had a recent upgrade to our website, which is getpacer.com. And if you navigate there and in the top header, you click on use cases, we have this section where we've really dived into a lot of different organizations and what great ways you can use Pacer besides like opening or expansion, but a lot of other examples here you can click on and read a little bit more about on our website. Yeah, so I'd love to take you into the app and show you how that works. So we're back in Pacer, and we're going to navigate to the dashboard of a location. So I'm going to change my location. We'll go to Seattle. And here we are. We have the Seattle Hotel. We have our projects. They're working on a full service opening. And I'm going to go ahead and add a project. So by clicking here, it opens up our drawer. I can name this project something specific to Seattle. Let's see, maybe they're starting to collect some rainwater at the hotel. Rains a lot in Seattle. Maybe this is helping them get LEED certified, their building. So it's a LEED initiative. And we would now choose a baseline to push. So we would have already created our baseline that's going to help this. So I'll go ahead and just choose something here to push. And I'll choose a project manager. So here it might be a good idea to push to choose like the maybe like engineering leader or something, anyone who's going to be spearheading this project. And then we'll add a 0 date. So we'll make this for the end of the year. We want to start this initiative. And I'll go ahead and save that. Great. So now I have this project that's active at this one location. As an admin, it's good to note that, you might get a call, say, hey, I need help with this, or, I don't know what's going on. As an admin, it's good to know that if you click on the admin section and you go to projects, here you're still able to see those single location projects. So if I go down here, I can still see this rainwater collection project. If you need to assist anyone with anything, you still have access to view it here. You don't always have to go directly to Seattle Hotel to see that. And like I showed in the presentation, you can click on project resources, and here's where you can change the 0 date. Of course, you can always select your coach, and then you can change your implementation manager as well.
Hey, Connor, do me a favor and click on Add Project there again. Just wanted to point out that that baseline there is optional, right? So if that location has their own project that they want to use Pacer for because, hey, they've used the tool already, they like the tool, they just want to use it for something internal, but you don't want to go through the trouble of, or quote unquote trouble, to import a baseline for them. And maybe they're not organized yet enough to even know what all the tasks are in advance, but you could create the project for them. And then once you do that, they can go to the task list and just add the task on their own one by one and associate it with that particular project name. So you don't have to have a baseline. You can basically just let them create them as they go in the tool.
Yeah,
so
Connor, there was an example for that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, so maybe they want to push NPS scores. So you've created this for them, and they'll save it. You'll notice it won't appear because there's no tasks for it right now. So the general manager will say, great, the project's loaded in. They'll navigate to the task page and they'll add a task, and they'll say lobby initiative. Everyone needs to spend, 4 hours in the lobby a day greeting guests, and maybe that's due by the end of the month. And they'll choose their department and their community. And then the project here, you'll see that now we have the NPS push project available to choose from. And once you add that, you'll now see that we can navigate back to the dashboard page, and our NPS project is now active because we now have a task associated with it.
Cool, thanks, Connor. The question came up, so to confirm, an admin still needs to be able to do this, right? A user wouldn't be able to create their own single location project, question mark.
That's right. Yep.
So I don't recall if it's moderator, or I think a moderator may be able to do this as well. I don't remember specifically if it's moderator and above or if it's admin and owner.
Yeah, I think a moderator can do this as well. And we're actually going to start to get into moderators next. So we can actually test that the next time we come back into Pacer.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Actually, Jordan's telling us it is moderator. So there we go. Thanks.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know if it's easier for me to come off mute and ask my question.
Yeah. Go for it. Just remember we're being recorded.
Okay. Sorry, no, I just was trying to follow along the steps. It sounded like the admin or moderator would still create the project, even if it's just a single location project. But then the steps you just went through, technically a GM user could then add a task to that project. Is that what I was following?
Yeah, so basically all the admin needs to do is simply come in and sort of give them that environment to do. So a GM could open up a ticket or however it works in your organization, or contact someone they know that works with Pacer, and they'll say, hey, look, I'm trying to do a project at my location. And typically someone might say, hey, look, we use it for company-wide initiatives or something. But knowing this, it might open the door for opportunity for you to say, you know what, I'll create an environment in your Pacer at your location so that you can start to create tasks and delegate them and assign these tasks to your team. So an admin or moderator would come in, add the project, call it that NPS push, and now a GM would say, great, I see this project available. They'll come into their task page for their hotel and start adding, more tasks for the project, NPS push. And every time they add a task, they'll just need to make sure they choose that project, which is the environment an admin or moderator has created for them. And as they keep adding these tasks, they'll just click on save. And you'll see now that we're just growing more tasks within that project. And we can even choose a responsible user while we're creating it. You'll notice too that since this is located at the location level, we have this edit button, so we can come back in here. So it's very self-sustainable for the GM. They can come back in and edit the task if they've made any mistakes or anything, and then close it out. And they'll go back to their dashboard and they can see it's continuing to grow with more tasks. You can even delegate to your department heads. Say, hey, I need the director of sales to go in and add 5 tasks that your department is going to do to push for the NPS score. And people can go in and add their own tasks and add them to that project.
Thank you. That was helpful. One other quick question then. So does this particular project have a new report that goes along with it, or could the existing reports pull this too? I'm assuming yes, but just want to double check.
Yeah, existing reports can pull this
Okay.
too.
So you could pull a project crosstab just like you would for anything else, since this is just built as a project, even though it's just single use. Okay.
Yep. They just might need to contact a moderator to do that, because remember, they can. Yeah, users have access to all these reports. So as long as they have access to the report you're looking for, they can run it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Rich, you're going to jump in.
No, I think the only thing I would mention is we sometimes hear some concern about locations or adding tasks because it does add to the total number of in-flight tasks within the subscription. Historically, what we've seen though is it's just such a small amount in the scheme of things based on the bundle that the company is currently using that it usually doesn't make a massive impact to the number of in-flight tasks. So we've had a couple of customers that had that concern, and ultimately they just well, let's try it and see what the number actually comes out to be. They would have 5 or 6 locations that want to be able to create their own projects in Pacer. Great. Then, how many in-flight tasks were going to be per project? Maybe 20, 30 at the most. So they were only adding, maybe 200 or so in-flight tasks at any given point in time. It was, in the scheme of things, fairly small in comparison to the overall bundle. So it was worth, helping GMs and other teams within the property to be able to have a place, a workspace of their own. So they're using Pacer. And hey, frankly, if they're in Pacer more, it's only going to help you all, because the more eyes that more often that they're in Pacer, the more likely they're going to complete the other projects on time as well, right? So having them in Pacer more often is certainly to your advantage. even though it does add to in-flight tasks.
Yeah, and one
Right.
more thing to add
Sorry.
to that, it's not like a GM can import a whole bunch of tasks. Like they would need to add them one by one as well. Like deter them from adding, 500 tasks since they're doing it one by one. Yeah. Oh, it's a great question. Thanks for that. So it's a great segue actually to bring us into the moderator role. So again, in Pacer, you have a few different roles that everyone can have. So you've got users. Usually it's people that are coming in, property level people, logging in, looking at their tasks, looking at their dashboard, checking some graphs, but more or less just going right into their tasks, maybe filtering for just the things that they're responsible for or associated with, and they're just marking things off as complete, adding comments, a moderator, and then jumping past moderator to admin. We all know as admin as someone who's creating the subscription with the configurations, adding users, approving user requests, building locations, answering support tickets, a lot of different things. So basically have full control. An owner is higher than an admin, basically the same thing. Maybe they can see a little bit more about account information, which an admin doesn't really need to see. But there's this middle ground between user and admin. So what I'm showing on the screen here, the bottom is labeled administrator. This is what that menu looks like, right? We're familiar with this admin menu, and then below is our configurations. The moderator screenshot at the top shows the same admin button and what they can see. They're able to see baselines, answer support tickets, and view projects. They're not going to be creating locations or adding users. So it's a great opportunity for you to, if someone wants to manage a project in your organization, but you definitely don't want things to get messed up or fuzzy or them accidentally break something that you spent so much time setting up and building, it's your comfortable space, that a moderator can have that limited access, but still have that power to work on baselines and projects. So a lot of use case scenarios, kind of like what I just went through, but adding those other departments. So I recently worked with a client where they're opening up a hotel and they had one giant baseline, but they decided it doesn't make sense for an admin at the corporate level to be managing the sales baseline and managing the operations baseline and managing the information technology baseline. So what they did was they took their one opening baseline and made it into 5 or so different baselines. And then they made the corporate director of each of the departments a moderator so that they could manage their own baseline that contributed to the bigger picture of opening a hotel. We talked about communities, we talked about single location projects. This is just another way for people to have like kind of their own ownership over a piece of Pacer. You can delegate as well. So, a lot of the admins are tasked with moving zero dates, adding tasks to the baseline, which is part of what the example I just mentioned, or editing, with adding specific users in your organization as moderators. They can help with that pressure, help that moving zero dates or running those reports as part of that process. And then most importantly, for you as an admin, if you're able to find a few users in your organization that you feel comfortable making moderators, training them up on how it works, you can start to create a project, work with them, task them with owning that project and seeing it through the end, which they can do through moderator access. And then you can move on to start creating the next project for the next leader or next initiative that you have at your organization. All about delegation. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the access and abilities that moderators have. So again, here's our menu. Under admin, we have, this is the moderator login, baselines, support, and projects. when you create a baseline, you're naming your baseline, you're giving it a description, and there are these two bottom sections here when you're creating a new baseline. You can also access it at any time. It doesn't have to be a newly created baseline. You can edit it. We're going to take you into the app in a little bit and show you this live. But at any time, you can open this up. This is the edit baseline menu. And at the bottom here, we can see which users have access to to see this baseline. So in this particular subscription, I have myself, and in my fake account, I have a moderator named Christopher. Christopher is going to be in charge of running this baseline for a project. So just Christopher and I have access to this. So Chris can make edits, he can add, inactivate, all the same things that I can do, but only to this one baseline. The next thing on our menu is support tickets. So now that Christopher is in charge of this one project, Christopher can manage the baseline, but questions might come in. So we can make sure that Christopher is the point of contact who can answer these support questions that come in through Pacer. So that's another advantage you have here. And if anything comes into someone else accidentally, you can always click this drop down and reassign. And then the last thing is projects. So Christopher can open up the project where that baseline is associated and help with those zero dates, the putting things on hold, revoking, all that stuff. Yeah, so we'll take you in and show you.
I take a wild guess that Christopher is as a soccer player.
That's right. Yeah.
Professional soccer player.
Yeah. It's hard coming up with fake names.
Who does he play for?
He's Team USA, but he plays for AC Milan in Italy right now, and he's doing really well. So got some US representation over there. That's right. So we're in Christopher's profile. You can see in the top right corner, we've got Christopher working for like the greatest company ever, the Connor Corporation. So I'm going to click on admin, and here's our access. So if I click on the baselines, Christopher can see 7. We're going to flip back to my account as the admin and show you that there's a lot more going on than 7. But Christopher might take place in the budgeting project and the building of new locations. So if I'm Christopher, I can click on the budgets and I can see this project. I can see this baseline. I can add in anything new. I can make any edits, adding some exclamation points here, changing the person who's supposed to do this, applying those changes, adding in tasks, which is super helpful. And then we'll navigate back, and that baseline for 2023 budgets is associated with a project that Christopher also has access to. So I can click on that project, and here we are in our project manager dashboard, similar to a moderator. I can open up launch location actions, click on bulk update, and I can do same thing moderators can do, change zero dates. So it looks very familiar. It feels very familiar. There's nothing different about it. It's just that you can't access those configurations. Anything that's going to kind of like ruin, your subscription, quote unquote. We can always fix things, but just a little bit more of like an admin with guidelines. So I'm going to switch logins, and I'm going to show you how Christopher has access to 7 locations, but I got to clear my filters here. Christopher has access to 7 baselines, but me as an admin, if I click on my baselines, you can see that we have a lot more than 7. I've got 26. So I'm going to find one that Christopher might not have access to, and I'm going to manage the people who can see this. So I'll go to the new buffet standard. I'll click on our 3 dots here, the actions menu, and I'm going to click on edit baseline. And I can see that only I have access to the new buffet standard. But, we've opened it, we've started it. I want to pass this off to Christopher. Christopher's going to manage it now. If our corporate director or corporate executive chef has any changes they want to make to this new buffet as they're rolling it out to all food and beverage departments across our portfolio, they're going to contact Christopher now, and Christopher will manage it. So if I click on my drop down, this is going to show anyone in our subscription who has admin or moderator access. So I'll go ahead and click on Christopher's name, and I'll click the add button, and I'll click save. And this will lock him in. If at any time you need to remove, you can do that too, just by clicking their name and removing the selected. I'll go ahead and save that. And I'll log out and log back in as Christopher. And our 7 baselines have now increased to 8. I can see here at the bottom of our screen, and I can access our new buffet standard and make any changes that are required of the departments that have a hand in creating this.
Awesome. Now we have a question related to the projects, and can a moderator push it to every location within the subscription, or can they only push it to locations they have access to?
It's a great
I don't
question.
remember the answer to that question.
Yeah, yeah, I can quickly figure that out. I just want to also show you that they can add a project, so we were correct earlier. Yeah, let me take a location away from Christopher real quick and see how that works. So I'm going to go to admin. I'll go to users. I'll find Christopher. I'm just going to access to franchise hotels only. All right. I'll log back in. I would imagine it's only locations they have access to. So I'll find a report or project here. So our NPS push, and I'll try to go ahead and, yeah, so I don't see anything in scope, but I know it exists at, I believe it was the Seattle hotel we added to. So if I launch, or if I go back to add to scope by attribute, yeah, it looks like a moderator will only be able to manipulate the project for locations that they have access to. So I gave Christopher only access to franchise hotels. So when Christopher tries to go in to push to more, unfortunately, they only see the franchise hotels and not managed. So there's your answer there. Only what they have access to.
Great, and I think the only thing I should clarify there that if they went into the baseline and made an edit to a baseline task that's been pushed to every location, that will still update every single location. But if they went to a project and we're trying to change like a 0 date or something of that nature, they're only able to edit a 0 date or push projects down to locations they have access to. So it kind of depends on what they're doing.
Great question.
I was talking about editing a task, not adding it. Yeah, cool.
Oh, editing. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Connor.
Yeah, of course. All right. Yeah, so that's on some moderator access. So I hope somebody on this call has some takeaway on it might get your mind thinking about how you can use moderators and communities within your organization. Of course, if anybody has any questions about this, we're going to send this recording out, but of course, always feel free to reach out to me if you want to have a one-on-one call that we can sort of like work through together how this could work within your organization. I'm really always happy to help you navigate through that. So we're going to go to the last section of our call here. Yeah.
You told me to remind you about a poll. I don't know when it's supposed to happen, but I'm just okay. All right, fair enough. Maybe polls, it's at the end.
At the end, yeah. I'm gonna go through some new
doing
features.
my duty. So.
Yeah, thank you. We have some feature upgrades here that I'll go through. I'll go a little bit quickly. I know that we want to leave some time for any more questions that haven't been asked. So the first one we have is adding files directly to the dashboard. So normally, if a task is given to a location and it's requiring someone to upload a file to the task, we all know that if you upload the file to the task and mark it as complete, now done, and it's categorized in the complete section. But if you ever need to reference that file again, it actually lives in a location files repository on the dashboard page at the bottom right corner. We've added this new feature now where you can actually, without having to have a task, you can actually just upload a file directly to this section. So maybe it's a floor plan of the new building that you're building that you just want to have available. It does need to be associated with a project, because when a project is all done and closed out, those files, no longer appear. But the way that these files are organized is by discipline. So you just have to have a discipline selected as the most important option there. But yeah, you can upload directly to the page now. Our next feature is importing contacts. So this was built to help identify key individuals between a property level and a corporate level. So we always have our project manager, which is like someone that's on property that can either answer questions for you. Well, it doesn't have to be someone on property, but how it was intended was that it's sort of like a point person on property that if you have any questions, they can either answer for you or put you in touch with the right people. At the bottom left of the dashboard page, next to location files, we also have a little contacts section. So if you're opening up hotels in the East and you've opened up one and you've added some contacts that the East region, there are some great contacts for the East region at the corporate office. When you open your next hotel in the East region, you can just import those same contacts from that location and import them into the next one. So that way, that makes it easier for you to always have a running list of people that are great contacts for whatever project it is that you're working on. The next is user and location import. So I believe we talked about this on the last call, but just as a refresher, it used to be that when you wanted to import a group of users or a cluster of locations into your subscription, you would click on the import button and you would be asked to email us for us to provide you that list. Now we've built into the app that if you do click that import button, it looks just like your import baseline drawer, where you can download the tool, create your list, and then you can upload it, and it gives you the same error messages that you're familiar with the baseline import tool if there's any discrepancies. You can import in bulk. You can do one location per user, or you can do many, or you can just do it right in Pacer, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then we have this new report we've added. So some people on the call today use prerequisites. So there can be dependent tasks within your baseline. So there's a new report called Past Due Prerequisite Task Impact. It clearly lays out what tasks are in jeopardy for you, and you can understand sort of like how that flow looks in a different way. There's always Gantt chart, and if you click on Gantt chart while you're in your task view, there are these lines that connect your tasks together. But this report gives a little bit more insight in a list form. And if there's any teams that have a lot of dependencies, they might request this report get scheduled, or they might schedule it themselves. So that way they can stay on track, making sure they're not bringing others behind, or that they're prepared to complete their tasks when their time is up. Is there any other questions we have today? We have about 6 minutes left. Okay, awesome. Feel free to still type them in. Just want to announce our next Pacer Cadence webinar is going to take place on January 24th. Should be the same time. Awesome.
Cool. Great. Thank you, Connor. Appreciate it. It's got some great information here. Greatly appreciate putting it together and sharing different insights here. Some different ways that people can delegate access or use Pacer in different ways. So thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
That's it. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.